Welcome to another deep dive, deep beyond the veil, unusual podcast. I'm your host, Blu-ray J today, Jay.Drewz with the Black Sun Shaman co-hosts. Yeah, we're gonna bring it to you live today. Got some interesting topics of discussion. Thank you for joining us, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. What's happening, brother?
All is well on this here good Sunday. Got them good downloads at noon, as I should. You know.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
What's crack-a-lacking, man? What's happening up in the upper parts?
They said they had some tornadoes out through Michigan somewhere, man. That's the only news I've heard recently. They had a little crazy weather up here in Michigan for a little while.
That's what I was hearing also. Yeah, man. we had some scares here, but nothing really too much in the heartland.
Well, I mean, Detroit didn't experience much either. You know what I mean? Detroit didn't experience much either.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So something you were mentioning to me about some predictions weather-wise.
Oh! This season for the winds. The winds are supposed to reach I seen in them in two places. I seen in the Simpsons episode they had expected high level winds, and I mean they've been pretty spot on for a while now. But they said it was pretty high winds, and then it reminded me of The Fall of America, written by I think it was Elijah Muhammad. One it's a Nation of Islam book. It's The Fall of America, I believe it is, and they also talk about very, very high level winds having a part to do with this time period or whatever. I don't know how true it is, but it's interesting to note that our weather patterns have been increasing year by year with the wind levels.
Indeed. There was a good book, I believe I may have mentioned a time or two, but Rule by Secrecy, Jim Mars, back in the mid-90s. Yeah, he talks about the weather program, DARPA and HARP, and some of the manipulation tactics and abilities of some of the systems that the military have in place that can, affect weather conditions to cause, changes within weather patterns, etc.
The frequencies in general are supposed to create our reality on some level or another. So if they playing with HARP, I mean, our weather experiences could change, but it could also have potential effects on our body too. That's the unnerving part about the whole situation.
What type of effects, body-wise?
Well, I mean, depending on what frequencies you utilize, it would produce different effects. There are some frequencies that have been known to have been militarized, and they use them to create problems in your heart attacks, different things like that. They also use them for sound control. They use several frequencies for sound control. And then radiation. Radiation is also exposure to a level of frequency. So a lot of the effects of radiation in the body, which is hard to breathe, lung effects. It has cancerous causing effect of capabilities and different other things that would affect the body negatively, But keeping it in balance, you know what I'm saying? It also has potential good uses if they used it to assist in already naturally occurring systems, to help them generate good, positive energy that would have positive effects on the body, positive effects on the atmosphere, positive effects on the weather conditions of the planet. So, Yeah.
Indeed. And then I have to look further into it to be able to give out the detailed information. But there's a there is an experiment that was done that showed evidence of frequency versus counter frequency being able to eradicate conditions like cancer and other maladies, disabilities, diseases, etc. By putting two frequencies, I want to say it was maybe 1100 hertz
Yep.
apart.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I did see that too, and what it reminded me of, I did an experiment with two frequencies, and I played them at the same, I guess you could say, volume or the same amplitude. You know what I mean? And one blocked out the other. You could only hear one at a time. You couldn't hear them together. But when you played a frequency octaves above it, then your predominant capability to hear the other frequency, it became predominant. So the other frequency lessened out, even though it was still present. It lessened out and you couldn't hear it in the ear. So I don't know how long resonance transfer takes, but if you were trying to step a person up in their vibrational field, then you could potentially do it that way, and that may heal them if their sickness is in a certain vibration level. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah.
They probably thinking
We
I know,
thank
I
those
know
of
they're
you.
probably thinking like, this crazy man. They got their hospital in China for the people who like to look for the record to see if it's capability to be done. Capabilities with vibrational influences.
Oh
They
yeah.
had they had that hospital in China. I forget what it was called, but they were utilizing frequency to heal inoperable diseases for years before they were shut down by the Chinese government.
Right. Well, look, they're on the cutting edge of advancement in a lot of ways in China. For whatever reason, conspiratorial or just plain common sense, they have the edge in certain things. In others, because of certain draconian measures, governmentally, there are things that are repressed and suppressed, nonetheless discovered but not shared. Right. So, sort of like when we had a sitting president that knew about four different types of cancer being able to be cured by, let's just say, products produced in Cuba that were left on the shelf after the information was shared and divulged, uh, allowing for continued suffering and death here in the States. So,
You
allegedly.
know, you what's interesting about that. If frequency does have a direct effect on sickness in the body, then them trying to maintain sickness could potentially be trying to lock them in a frequency bandwidth
Mm-hmm.
that they
Yeah.
can't come out of, and to remain in that sickness. And what does it provide for them? Interestingly enough, energy. They are able to get finances and enough finances to rule, to have trillions of dollars a year coming through the medical industry. And that definitely is the capability or enough energy to to make moves that change our experience as a collective.
Yeah.
At
Let's take it a little further down the spiral with that. Uh, Not just the monetary gain, and that is the one of the biggest motivators. Like it's within the top two. But now on the esoteric or the hidden in plain sight side, we hear a lot within the metaphysical community or the conscious so-called community, the talk of certain beings feeding off of fear, suffering, negative energies, more easily manifesting because of the low vibrational dimension in which those things can traffic through into the reality that we share, right? They would have the capability of prolonging the production of that energy without raising any type of response.
Reptilians. Lizzie.
Exactly.
If their avenue of feeding was in the root, and they couldn't digest energy that was above the root. Have you ever heard of the Solfeggio scale? Or it has 7 notes, and then if you go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, then you go back to the original, but it's seven tones, and then if you count in the body, it's got like 7 chakras. So if they're feeding off of the root, then they would want to play R. Kelly. If they would want to keep you in the root, they would play Chris Brown. If they wanted to keep you in the root, they would play you some 808 drums and some boom, down music. And then they could feed off of that vibrational field as long as they kept you in it. But if you raise your vibrational tone higher, they may not be able to easily feed off of you. So the lowest, though, in the root, you find fear and sacred energy exchange. Those are the 2 most used methods for your root. So if they want to feed off of you from a low vibration, like it is said about these Lizzies, then the best way to do it would be to keep you over sexualized, to keep you in fear. Those would be the 2 main tactics to keep you a smorgasbord for an entity that fed on that level of
absolutely, or plural entities.
Yeah.
I mean, just since you brought up with the music, like, just not to pick on one or any specific, and also not to participate in the disguising, but for example, you have the blues, so samples within particular genres of music of the blues incorporated with lyrics that would resonate on that lower chakra frequency, like ain't no love in the heart of the city, right? Jay-Z takes that, and then boom, you got a hit record based on another hit record, but all in that same frequency, which would continue or perpetuate a feeling of suffering. For example, love that track, by the way. But just saying, we all have a root chakra, so there's going to be a part of us that's going to always identify with suffering. But when you look at art, what do they say that one of the greatest inspirations for art is suffering or pain? You and I had a conversation about that the other day. A good, long, powerful conversation.
And it's supposed to step up, not step down. That's what the problem is in music right now, is because then I realized that I mentioned artists that are being used by the music industry. I wasn't speaking to them specifically. I was speaking to the composition of their music. You know what I mean? And the problem is that they step down instead of stepping up, and that's not the way the energy goes. Energy goes up and then back down, up, back, then back down, up, back, then back down. So when they're going down, it's again a lock in that lower level vibrational feeding trough.
Indeed. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Thank you for joining the podcast. Thank you for our new subscribers. Thank you for the Schwabel Room. Shout outs to the Schwabel Room, 3 PMD, 3030, Left Leg of Goldtron, Handsome Mandela, Beatdown Brown, Old Man Ally, Sauce on Bread, aka Ed 10. You know what it is, Miss Kiki's, etc. The list goes on and growing. At Jay.Drewz, YouTube, at Jay.Drewz3692. Black Sun Shaman, www.blacksunshaman. Support the website, support the store. My man's got what you need if you're ailing or you just want to stay sucker free. And I do mean that literally. Parasites are suckers. So back to what we were saying. We wanted to touch a little bit on, some non-conventional thought, some things that I shared a while back with my brother here in my past foundational background, back when I was in the church.
Well.
Tabernacle. There was an influential man that I'm not sure that wouldn't want to necessarily be associated fully with the content. So out of respect, I would just say this was a mentor of mine at one time in my foundational years. A great teacher, great speaker, great preacher. Voted one of the top 50 theological minds of his time, even by those Catholic institutions that would consider the faith that he represented as heretical. Neither here nor there to me, but great theological mind. He spoke for a few years, at very least, and I would dare say several years, on a voice-activated kingdom, where we wanted to bring this into common and modern understanding outside of a religious structured environment, is voice-activated reality or realities. We already we know about manifestation, most of us, at least on a basic level. We get into the laws of attraction. We get into, or law of attraction, the laws of the universal laws, mentalism, vibration, momentum, cause and effect, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of us have a very good basic understanding of how things are manifest into our material reality. So when you're dealing with a voice, you're dealing with frequency, you're dealing with sound, you're dealing with something that is audible, but also has vibration. We go back to the word Ta. Some people refer to the god Ta, spelled P-T-A-H in English, pronounced Ta.
Skull cap and a staff. You know what I'm talking about? Skull cap and a staff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, over the years of my studies, and I'm sure within yours, I have found some very interesting breakdowns, explanations, definitions, etc., on the meaning of the concept being conveyed when speaking Ta. So when you deal with the New Testament Bible, for example, and Saint John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him that were made. Without him was nothing made that was made. The word or term word being used in that particular text would go back to a concordance to the term logos in Greek. However, the Greek school of thought comes out of the ancient Comitian school of thought, often misnomered as Egypt, which is a mistransliteration of the word Haikupta. Haikupta, meaning the palace of Ta. So when you deal with the palace or kingdom of Ta, the realm of Ta, we're dealing with frequency.
Indeed.
So that would translate, in the beginning was the first audible sound, which caused a moving, or brought about a moving, shaking, and causing to be all things that would exist into existence. So when we speak of Ta, you could use your own words. It doesn't really matter. But that is the gist of the thought and opinion of the original scribes, writers, transliteration from Ta to logos, to the English term word. Right?
Yeah. And an interesting note, frequency has a direct effect on molecular structure.
Come on now.
So
We've
it
actually
has the
shown you all the
ability.
evidence too.
It has the ability to form and change the form of the molecular structure of matter. Now, who knows if it changes matter completely, if it's amplified up, you know what I mean, and more energy is given to a frequency? Who knows if it has the capability to change matter completely, but we do know it changes the molecular structure. And so we have vocal cords that play to the waters of our body, which change its molecular structure. So if you see a yogin om mantra-ing or playing a big bell that they sit up under in it, and it sound bathes them in a sound, and they're doing their meditation in these different states, and they're bringing back these levels of awareness from somewhere else, you know what I mean, seemingly somewhere else, you know what I'm saying, very subtle realities, very clear health aids, very clear wisdom, very clear knowledge that ends up being taken in and passed on through generations amongst their ideology. But the thought processes that they're getting are from the different levels of awareness that are a direct result of the sound that is coming from the mantras and the sound bathing that bring them into a different level of awareness than what is common to people.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Pulling up some examples here. Yeah, so bear with me. So I'm going to go ahead and share something based on what we are sharing with the audience. Go ahead, bro. You got something you want to?
Oh no, I'll wait. I'll just note feather in my hat, note in my hat. You know what I mean, like the later.
Indeed, no, not a problem. So yeah, I'm just skipping through this the ad portion.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, just whenever when you ready to start, I was just quickly. I thought about them towers and how they have coverage areas. So if it changes your molecular structure of your body, your voice, then the tower has a coverage area. Then it would change the molecular structure of the molecules in the air and potentially the body of whatever's in that coverage area. But yeah, that's what came up in my brain.
Indeed. This is called Amazing Water and Sound Experiment number 2 on the Brus Pup channel. You guys want to check that out? It looks like they have some pretty interesting things on their channel. But let's go ahead. I'm just going to play this for reaction's sake. Fair use. This is not our video. We did not produce it. We did not create this experiment. Just sharing this for live conversation and commentary, explanation, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Without further ado. Oh, hold on.
Yep, there we go. Yep, perfect. Look at that there.
Pretty amazing.
Indeed.
That is a sound wave frequency changing the. Go ahead.
It made me feel like it made me reminiscent of some of them low vibrating the languages that have the rolling R's and stuff like that, and then some of them low tone musical instruments, the Ricola guy be playing the long big horn. It had that same sound that was producing that shift in the water. Yep, that.
Yep. So that's just one example. That's the vibrations and the frequency working together to change the formation within the water structure. But I'm trying to find something a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more indicative of the effect on the effect that the frequency and sound has on the actual structure of cells. So let's see here. But we can continue on. You know, in a voice activated kingdom, one of the best examples, like I said, that my former pastor / mentor back, you know, in my formative foundational years was speaking on, of course, was Yeshua, often referred to as Isus or Jesus. If you're Muslim, Imam Isa, you know, the list goes on. So many different references.
Joseph ben Pandora.
Well, you know, yeah, Toldathian, Talmudic reference, yes, but more historically correct as far as identification. Yes, absolutely. Joshua, son of the Black Panther. The actual inspiration and
many others.
Yeah, the actual inspiration for organizations such as the Black Panther Party for Freedom and Self-Defense. Very inspirational and influential on their cosmology, their worldview, outlook, etc. But yeah, so, you know, Yeshua would speak to the problem. He would speak to the issue. He would speak to whatever it was he was dealing with. And there's a story where there's a centurion of Rome, and he asks Yeshua to heal his favorite servant. And he says, you don't need to come with me. He said, I understand how this works. He said, I being a centurion, know that I have 100 men under me. And if I speak to one and tell him to go, he goes. And I say to another to do, and he'll do that thing. So I know that if you speak the word only, that my servant would be healed in the self same hour. And Yeshua said, I have not seen such faith in all of Israel. And he said, take me to your home and show me your servant. So he goes with him just on the strength of the fact that he has enough faith to where he can imagine how the entire world works off of the vibration of someone who has mastered that understanding's voice. And that is not to take away from those whose theology says that Christ is God or Lord or the Son of God or even a prophet. Because ultimately, the example within the script pertaining to his testimony shows forth that multiple times he spoke to situations. Lazarus, for example, his best friend being laid to rest 4 days earlier. He could have simply left where he was, or he could have sent his word then. But because he wanted to teach them a lesson, he allowed for Lazarus to start rotting before he went and spoke to that situation. But there's many examples, and I'm not trying to skip through them. But, you know, most people, you have access to a Bible, even if you don't own one. You go on vacation this spring or summer, check that drawer. The Gideon Bible is not that far off a translation from most Bibles. So just check out that New Testament story about, you know, the centurion. Go ahead.
Another similar example, just building on another similar example of the utilization of vocals to have different effects on a person or an experience. The Medu Neter volumes, I think it's like 1 through 7 right now. But if you go to those descriptions, then they have what do they call them? Oh goodness, I can't. They have major and minor somethings, but they're notes. They're different compositions or ways of saying something. So it may be gring something. You know what I mean? And they hold these vibrations, and they say that within these vibrations is unlocked personality traits, is unlocked experiences, is unlocked different um, personality attributes in someone else. If the song is sung over them, then those are the saying is said over them, then it'll bring those attributes forth out of them. So, with that said, there's a lot of genetic information within us that can be activated or brought to remembrance through vibrations, and that's another direct effect that vibration could potentially have on our experience, or another use of words, just like Yeshua was using those words to bring healing in that scriptural text. He may have been activating specific parts of their genetics, or may have had sound vibrations of his own that brought healing to him, and just reintroduce that at the time when necessary for someone else to experience that level of healing. When you said that, it brought me back to the memory of that Chinese hospital I was speaking about earlier. The people who were in the hospital, I remember the video. There's a video you can go type in Chinese sound healing hospital in Google, and it should bring up this hospital in one of those videos below it. But so there's a doctor in a room, and he's surrounded by nurses, and they start making these noises. They're like, hit, huh, hut, hut.
Man, you went exactly where I was about to pick up when you get to go. My bad, I just cut you off.
We synced up again.
I get excited. Yeah, I was gonna say vocal inflection.
Yeah. They hut, and then they're doing this, and in the background they got a sonogram, or what do you call that? You put on a mother's womb to see the baby.
Yeah, sonogram. You said it correct.
Okay, yeah, a sonogram machine over an inoperable tumor of an American that had come there to China to get healing. And so then you watch the American inoperable tumor vanishing as they're making this sound on the ultrasound screen. So, and they ended up getting shut down by the government. But again, with that said, the government usually is run by capitalists. So if the medical industry was making the medical industry is making trillions of dollars. So I don't know if it was the government or the medical industry that shut them down, but they were doing this healing off of the reason I was saying that. They were doing this healing off of remembering what it felt like when they healed their patient. They were making the sound. When you asked the doctor and the nurses what they were doing, they said, we remember what it feels like for people to be healed. We remember the experience and what it felt like. So we redo it. We redo the vibrations that went on during that time period on as many levels as we can, in our heart, in our speaking, in our thinking. And then that power is what they utilize, or that vibration is what they utilize to bring healing to whatever inoperable disease patient that they were with.
So I'm going to show you that real quick. Let me just share this instead of the other. All right. So let me line it up where we can read it. Now, this is the world's largest medicineless hospital. So I'll just read this. You want me to read part of this?
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So this is an article by Luke Chan. Shout out Luke Chan, whoever you are. And I'm probably going to murder this linguistically because I do not speak fluent Chinese, Mandarin,
Just get the
Cantonese, or
message.
any other dialect yet.
Just get the message.
Yeah. So Huaxia Zineng Qigong Clinic and Training Center, simply known as the Center. That's dope. Normally has more than 4,000 people living there, including doctors, patients, Chi-Lel teachers, trainees, and supporting personnel. The center was established in 1988 in the city of Zigachong and later in 1992 relocated to the city of Qinhuangdao. Sorry. In 1995, it again expanded to its present address, an old army hospital in the city of Fingrun, 2 hours by train from Beijing. It is directed by its founder, Dr. Pang Ming, and Qigong Grandmaster and physician trained in both Western and Chinese traditional medicine. This hospital is the largest of its kind in China and probably in the world. The center avoids medicines and special diets in favor of exercise, love, and life energy. It is a nonprofit organization and is recognized by the Chinese government as a legitimate clinic. Over the years, the center has treated more than 180 diseases, the overall success rate being more than 95%. I'm going to repeat that. Over the years, the center has treated more than 180 diseases, the overall success rate being more than 95%.
And in their beginnings, when I first read about them, they were at 100%. This 95% didn't come until they had issues with the governing body that caused them to move. Then it went from 100% success rate to 95% success rate for, I hope, obvious reasons.
So Luke Chang says, I spent the entire month of May living in the center, observing firsthand how the hospital operates and interviewing more than 100 people who have miraculously recovered from incurable diseases such as cancer, diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, severe depression, paralysis, and systemic lupus. Many times I was moved to tears while listening to these accounts of heroic struggle against disease. One mother told me that she was so weak that she couldn't even pick up a kitchen knife to kill herself and so attempted to end her life by not eating. But when her 6-year-old son tried to spoon feed her a bowl of milk while her 11-year-old held a towel to wipe away any spills, she decided to live at any cost. Since doctors couldn't help her, she turned to Chi-Lel and, against all odds, recovered. She is now a teacher at the center. That's powerful. That's powerful. I had to share that.
Right on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. Now, another interesting thing, since we're on this topic, we have a TED Talk at Skidmore College. This is Anthony Holland on shattering cancer with resonant frequencies. We do not own the rights to this video. We did not produce it. Neither of us is presenting. We did not corner the market on this research. This is for entertainment and education purposes only. In reaction.
Usually I would be standing on this stage over here conducting the college orchestra because I'm a music professor. But tonight I'm going to talk about my moonlight activities in the field of science.
Sorry, just want to get. Okay. Well,
moonlight activities in the field of science and how they led to a cancer research lab.
Like, share, subscribe. Share, subscribe. Join us on our locals.
Over the past 8 years, I've had the great pleasure of working with some brilliant and dedicated scientists. They were very open-minded And we had a common dream that in the future, children would not have to suffer from cancer or from the terrible side effects of toxic drugs or radiation, because we believed there just had to be a better way. There had to be a better way, and we think we may have found it. A scientist said, "You're..."
I mean, so those of you who've been getting divine inspiration, downloads, uploads, think it not strange, as my mom would say, quoting the Bible. It is not a strange thing. This is occurring more and more. Anyone who is open to be awakened is being awakened. They're being inspired to take whatever it is their expertise has brought them to, as far as understanding or comprehension, to go to another level with it. You know, that is what you're meant to do. Stop being afraid of what other people think. Stop bouncing it off of people to see what their feedback is. Follow it and see what happens. Just follow it and see what happens. I dare you.
Killing more cancer cells than as if you had used radiation. That same scientist went on,
Move back
better
there.
way, and we think we may have found it. A scientist said, "You're killing more cancer cells than as if you had used radiation." That same scientist went on, "If you had spent millions of dollars developing a new drug that killed this many cancer cells, it would be a home run." This was an astonishing thing to hear, especially for a music professor who had just completed his first experiments in a cancer lab. But we didn't use any radiation. We didn't use any drugs. So what did we do?
What did you do?
I have here two identical tuning forks, both tuned to the note A, the note an orchestra tunes to. These forks are both made to vibrate 440 times per second. We say their frequency is 440 hertz.
Who's that sound like to you, bro? What do I tune my tracks to? Well, anyhow, yeah, keep on dealing with that 430 range, y'all. Go ahead. Yeah, that's healing. But does it kill off what's already wrong that may be past the point of being able to be healed and in need of eradication? Oh, I'm gonna just
and then they say that 440, or that there's a note called the Devil's Clef. I believe it's 440. Just in light of what he's saying, if there was a note that would be the counter note to 440, then it would be 451 megahertz. Just stuff.
If I tap this fork, putting little pulses of energy into it, the second fork will also vibrate in sympathy. And if I silence this fork, we just may hear the other singing its tone.
Okay. I mean, that's not our video. We just wanted to share that. Just wanted to let you all see we're not speaking something that we are not aware of completely as accurate. So we see what's my man's name one more time. I want to give props. Anthony Holland, professor at Skidmore College, professor of music and a conductor within their orchestra. This is amazing science. Go ahead.
Interesting to note that he's talking about these. I don't know the healing frequencies that come from sound. Then he mentioned he was a part of the orchestra, which brought me to the remembrance of the music's capability to shift your mood. So if you're in a place, you can turn on some music and it'll change the experience of what you're feeling to something more or less positive depending on how long you stay in it. And so that's another example of how you experience change, one on the feeling level and one on the cancer level, but both of them, how frequency can have a direct effect and does commonly have a direct effect on you.
Absolutely. This I gotta share this part too.
It's hardly noticeable, but the frequency of the vibration of this bridge, there was a steady wind blowing across it. And one day this wind induces a small vibration in the bridge, hardly noticeable. But the frequency of the vibration matches the resonant frequency of some part of the bridge. And the vibration gets larger and larger and larger until the bridge collapses into the river below.
What?
A destructive resonant frequency. So on one end of the scale, we have a giant concrete and steel bridge destroyed by resonance. And on the other, we have a small crystal glass shattered. So maybe we could shatter something even smaller, something really small, something you would need a microscope to see. Maybe we could shatter a living microorganism.
Listen, I'm trying to contain myself.
Theory to serve as a basis. And we find that basis in a wonderful book called The Rainbow and the Worm, The Physics of Organisms.
I'm gonna pause it, right? Stop it right there. So back to a voice-activated kingdom. He sent his word and healed them, right? Now, this is not a religious lecture. This is not a religious sermon. This is simply showing you that.
Oh, it's Sunday. We can't take them to church.
Oh, we can't take them.
Absolutely.
If we desire, we certainly can. Just for the sake of the wider audience, there's no disrespect towards anyone's walk, journey, outlook, conviction. This is simply to show that tone, frequency, of course, with speech falls within those disciplines of understanding, speech, linguistics. Oftentimes, the one that was called Yeshua, they said he spoke in a language that goes back to a character from the Old Testament that they refer to as Abram or Abram, who becomes Abraham or Abraham. But he was from a city called Ur of the Chaldees. And Ur of the Chaldees would deal with Chaldea, right? Which is within the realm of Babylon, Sumer, Akkad, Chaldea. They're all the same region, also referred to as the Crescent, also called the Cradle. So where he calls upon resurrection power, even before his demise on the cross. And of course, there is some discussion or debate within the Gnostic tradition of his actual time and cause and place of death. That particular account that is given within King James Version, there's a crucifixion, which is odd to me because that would be a Roman form of execution for Roman citizens of Roman birth and stock, racially, ethnically speaking. But nonetheless, let's just deal with the narrative on the basic level for conversation's sake. He says, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, right? And if I'm murdering it, I apologize. I am not trained in Chaldean, and I'm not trying to pretend or front as if I have been taught these things. But it is translated as my God, why hast thou forsaken me? But when you go into, for example, thesaurus and the concordance, the breakdown of that statement is more so to the effect, how can you look upon me as if you've never seen me before and turn aside and allow me to be murdered or killed? Allow me to be unalived. Okay. So prior to this, he speaks Chaldean when there's a little 12-year-old girl who is pronounced dead. And he climbs upon her and he lays on her. And I don't know if it's to listen to see if she just has really shallow breaths, but she's still not quite conscious, but in the realm of the living still, or he's just trying to confirm that she is in fact lifeless. But nonetheless, after he gets up from whatever he was trying to discern, he says, Talitha Kumai, arise, damsel. Again, I say, arise. And she sneezes 3 times and awakens and begins normal conversation, according to the account. Just giving you some examples for those of you who don't believe in these things literally. I don't blame you. For those of you who do, I hold you blameless as well. I'm simply bringing this to the point of light to where you can see an example of a frequency that brings forth a result. For example, I know I didn't finish the story of the crucifixion, but imagine, if you will, 3 days later after speaking those words, and then Taleo, it is finished. 3 days later, it is alleged that he returned from the grave, from death, hell, and the grave, and reappeared to some of those who were close to him. All right. So these are just some examples of voice-activated reality and how frequency, tone, sound, vibration goes beyond just the material physical realm, but also can bring things into existence in this realm, such as healings, such as, I don't want to say resurrections, like they're so common, but who's to say that they won't be? You know, with this current generation and the ones coming after them, you know, these children are different. And those of you who know, you know, that's for another episode for us to build on that. But if you've heard Sebi and you've heard Dr. Delbert Blair, rest in power, both of them, you've heard some other teachers, griots, healers speak about the generations and what they represent and what energy is coming with them. We will see these things. They will master what we've tinkered with. They will take it to the next level, like it or not. Get ready. So people like this man right here, Anthony Holland, a music professor, was not afraid to work with scientists who he could have said, oh, intellectually, this group of individuals are out of my league. But he's a scientist of note dealing with music. He understands the composition of music, the orchestration of music, the rhythm, the intonation, he understands not just the theory of music, but the practical application of that theory. So anyhow, this is just amazing.
I mean, amazing indeed. And then when he talks about orchestra, it made me think of the range of these different instruments. And if the ranges have some correspondence to the Solfeggio scale or the chakra system, then music itself would have the capability, just as the words that were spoken by Yeshua, the mantras that are done by yogins, and the mantras that are used in the Medunetta. All of these have the potential to structure DNA or bring about a structure to DNA that you already have the template for. It would be like activating software. It would be like taking a mouse and clicking on the opening part for software, and then all of the programs that correspond to that software begin to run. So this would be the same thing that was occurring with a mantra in prolonged activity within the body. It formulated the structure necessary for all of the information held within that particular software to begin to run on your what do you call it, electromagnetic system. You know what I mean? Even yeah.
I mean, so you made me want to go somewhere that I was going to try to not avoid, but navigate around ever so slightly until we decide to go in. But you know what? It's Sunday, right?
Right on.
So when you deal with the concept, for example, of the minister of music in some traditional religious teachings, the minister of music of heaven, okay, they're referred to as Lucifer or Lucifer.
I thought about this.
Most people are used to hearing it as Lucifer, right? It says that the instruments were in the body of this being. It talks about the organ, right? But if you look at it as how it's been broken down scientifically and medically, that certain organs are married to one another. And of course, now we just saw two different examples. If you include the article about the hospital, we're dealing with the knowledge of how frequency and vibration affect the organs, because they're comprised of cells. Blood is comprised of cells. DNA is comprised of cells, and they all respond to frequency. Oh, you're hilarious. Yes, Brother T.
Does this mean that the architectural geometrical shapes of cathedrals may have some direct effect on the physical body of the practitioners within the temple?
I think that you might be onto something. Especially,
wait, and they have organs upstairs. That
right by the baptismal pools.
Oh yes.
Oh, you're right.
And doesn't water memory allow for water to hold frequency, and it changes its molecular structure to correspond. So if you put our physical water body into the water, your turn. You go, Jay.
Before we would put a physical body in the water, though, aren't there stained glass windows in most cathedrals? It's a requirement almost that would refract angles or angels of light into the pool from certain directional geometrical locations and shapes. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Indeed, I even think that they have lighting specifically for the baptismal pool.
I would say you are probably correct. You know, and some churches have carried on that particular tradition in their own expression, and others have banned it. They've made it a part of their bylaws within their organization, an alignment that they would not. And so, in fact, all of that energy that's being built up within the dome spaces of those vaulted, arched ceilings ends up falling on one individual who has expended their energy towards captivating the rear ends and the seats, and so they're taking home the healing or to the restaurant in between services, just depending on the particular denominational expression, and then coming back empty again to receive. But you know, nonetheless, healing takes place in these places all of the time. whether some of us like to look at it that way or not, some of us have had some real life-changing experiences.
There was usually music involved with those experiences.
Always, even if it was vocal music, and that goes back to the voice-activated kingdom. The instruments are simply an external expression. So for example, if I couldn't sing, but if I could play and make that organ sound like a voice, because there's some musicians that are real special at what they do, and they've even invented modifications of traditional instruments that were external instruments and not vocal, that can make them sound like a person or a being saying and singing things. Right?
And that's when the music gets live. That's when the breakdown is happening. You know what I mean? That's when the good part, you know what I mean, is amplified and yeah.
Absolutely. So
I seen a video with this one guy. He said, before we release the masters, we all come and put a vibration on. They sit down and the occultists come together who own the record labels and do all of the crazy stuff that we hear about in the music industry.
Yeah.
They had one of the guys whistleblow on him, and he got killed after he whistleblowed on him. But he whistleblowed to reveal to us that they'll make a track, then they'll bring the magnetic record version of it.
Go on and just say it. They put a spell that is bound to the magnetic strip of the tape. So even though there is mainly a digital version of this, they can use the digital frequencies to hide or disguise the spell that is running within the song, as we would call it, the track, the stream, that they have adhered or stuck to that original form of recording,
which then changes the reality of the hearer to align with whatever agenda, purpose, magnetic that they have prescribed over this particular track. Or they can manipulate your energy through that.
Absolutely. So we used to, when those of us who used to watch television growing up in the 80s and even early to mid 90s, there used to be a commercial that would run for Sunday programming on network television. And I want to say that it was, oh my gosh, I know his name. He had the Crystal Cathedral. And they would always play the clip of him saying the scripture where the Apostle Paul is speaking to, I want to say, is it the Church of the Hebrews? Or the letter to the Hebrews, but he said, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Right? I believe it's Hebrews 11. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but do look into it. So it tells you there that faith, even to move the mountain, so to speak, to eradicate the illness, so to speak, to walk on that metaphorical or literal, water, it comes from hearing.
What happened when a preacher get to preaching good, Jay? Back in our day, and what happened when a preacher get to preaching good? Does he take on a rhythmic cadence and raise his voice?
He does. Intonation, inflection, and sometimes even actual singing and additional vocalization will come.
And that gets people in the spirit.
Yeah, it makes them happy. As they say, they get happy. They start to dancing and other things. Absolutely.
Okay.
Call and response sometimes. I get joy. Joy. That's right. Let me hear you say it again. I get joy. Joy. How can you stay down? How can you coexist beneath that frequency,
there's even in your magnetic field, there's even magnetic pathology for someone else's chemical, chemical composition to be taken into your own energetic field through magnetism. Yes. So if a person reaches joy and joy comes with a chemical release, then not only is the vibrational field affecting you with the vocals, but this person also has the potential to affect you to the degree that the chemicals are traveling that magnetic pathway into your body and affecting you as well.
I like how you put that. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, this frequency, this voice activated, frequency operated realm of reality is affected by the things that we think, sing, repeat, state, confess, deny, right? And it even expands or collapses worlds. Because I would throw this at you. And listen, call me whatever you want to call me. Just, understand that I'm operating from a place of love and concern and interest in all of our well-being. World and word can be interchangeable when dealing with frequency. That's all I want to convey. If you want me to bottom line it for you, you don't got much time and you didn't just tune in until just now, or you only catch this video later on, and this is the only point that you get that. Okay.
Yeah.
Word can become world can become word when you're dealing with frequency.
And then he gave you a lot of the frequency setters, and I would just like to give you some of the electrical pulses. There is an electrical pulse from the beat of your heart. So when you're working out, when you're moving around, the different beats of your heart that are produced also give electric energy to your neural pathways and messages to your blood. And that's energy. That's your electric energy. Your left and right hemisphere of your brain, when you're utilizing your thought process and your masculine and feminine thought processes, if you want to say it that way, then that also is producing electrical energy. So you have vibration that's produced, magnetism, and then you also have electrical energy that helps to shorten the space between something being unseen and seen, experienced.
Absolutely. Thank you for that as well. One last thing before we go, but just understand expansion and collapsing of realities. They've proven through the Hubble telescope. I want to say there's some other telescopes that actually capture this, but they could show live images of the center of what they call the universe expanding and contracting, as if it were breathing or pulsing, as in when a woman is getting ready to deliver. When she's getting ready to deliver.
Like the in and out breath?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So imagine you have a shared reality where those who share that reality get together and they focus on a frequency through whether it be chanting, singing, praying. They can actually expand and contract their way into bringing something new, allegedly, into this current world.
And I want y'all to know, for the record, this is me and him being light on this subject, because there is a deeper level of awareness, and maybe one day we can really talk about CERN on that level. You know what I mean? Like, and really break down what's happening there for real. You know what I mean? Like,
so I have another article which can be printed out in a PDF. It's pretty detailed information. I'm just going to touch on this briefly. Do you have time, brother? Are you good?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Yes, for sure.
Okay. So this is. Let me show you the title first. This is a retracted article. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe not. Let's see. Why was it? Okay, we'll look into that. Correction was already added. Okay, by the original author. It has been updated. All right, retracted article. Okay, now let's start with the title: A Mathematical Model for Vibration Behavior Analysis of DNA and Using a Resonant Frequency of DNA for Genome Engineering. So it says abstract. The DNA molecule is the most evolved and most complex molecule created by nature. The primary role of DNA in medicine is long-term storage of genetic information. The primary role of DNA in medicine is long-term storage of genetic information. Genetic modifying is one of the most critical challenges that scientists face. On the other hand, it is said that under the influence of acoustic, electromagnetic, and scalar waves, the genetic code of DNA can be read or rewritten. In this article, the most accurate and comprehensive dynamic model will be presented for DNA. Each of the two strands is modeled with an out-of-plane curved beam, and then by doubling this two strands with springs, consider the hydrogen bond strength between these two strands. Beams are traditionally descriptions of mechanical engineering structural elements or building. However,
just to simplify what he just said, that means not only does it have the potential to formulate DNA into different patterns, it also has the ability to unravel, and ravel DNA. Is the short version of that right there.
Absolutely. Thank you for helping break that down. Absolutely. It says also, finally, by deriving governing equations from Hamilton's principal method, in solving these equations with generalized differential quadrature method, or GDQM, the frequency and mode shape of the DNA is obtained for the first time. In the end, validation of the obtained results from solving the governing equations of mathematical model compared to the obtained results from the COMSOL software is confirmed. By the help of these results, a conceptual idea for controlling cancer with using the DNA resonant frequency is presented.
Jay, just a question. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
So our genetics are the way that we are structured in this physical reality. So if the frequency that played in our mother's womb that the heart began to formulate on that frequency, first it's a frequency, then the heart starts to form around that frequency and the cell growth and everything happens based on that frequency. So if that's how we were constructed in our mother's womb, then if they can find the genetic code and play it to the womb, then doesn't it have the potential to then structure a person?
Absolutely. I mean, we would be dealing with a less invasive way of cloning or replicating certain humans or beings' DNA over and over.
That is utterly terrifying. But no, I'm just playing. But
No. That is a good word if dealing with the negative outcome, which there's always a possibility of a negative or positive outcome with anything scientific. However, it just goes to show what you were speaking on earlier is 100% accurate, that there are things that are causing these diseases and abnormalities within the human body structure that go beyond diet. They go beyond just the air that we breathe.
You could see it in the old wisdom of older people. They be like, don't be angry with the baby in your belly. Don't let the baby hear certain vibrations. And then even if you take it to a ancient cultural perspective, they take the mama and put her in a hut of her own in some cultures by herself until she's done with her process, or just have her around other mothers caring for her until the time of the baby is around upon us.
So just wait until the data comes out on the babies conceived and carried throughout the 19 strain scare period. Just wait till that comes out. I don't know if it'll take 43 years to declassify it for public consumption. However, it'll be very interesting once that data comes out to see.
Did you hear about the sperm count of men as well?
Yeah, you heard that? Terrence Howard. I haven't done my own research on it.
Okay. Yeah. Terrence Howard spoke on the sperm count going down and the effects that it could have for a potential future of people not being as fertile by a certain point in their life. Interesting to note, not saying they have anything to do with each other, just an interesting note. Mr. Gates wanted the population to, Mr. Gates and his constituents wanted the population to be decreased.
Co-conspirators.
I indeed do. Had the meeting that they wanted the depopulation to be decreased. So now we're seeing that the food effects, and he just became owner of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and potentially thousands of acres of farmland, and the contracts for the United States farmers have lessened to the point that they had to give up a lot of their farms, and they were paid to give up their farms, and they were just ran over. But anyway, because of the food and the content of the food, our ability to produce sperm is lowering every not even every generation, it's lowering consistently every decade. And so that's, that would be in alignment with that. Not saying that they have anything to do with each other, but he's the one serving up a lot of this foods. You know what I mean? Especially, vaccine in the lettuce. Tennessee too. They passed that law that they can get the lettuce to prevent people from having to experience the terrible things that COVID-19 can produce.
It seems like we just need to get the right music out there to play to the plants. Inject all you will. We got this, bitch. Sorry. That was unprofessional. Happy Sunday, y'all. Happy Sunday, y'all. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for the new subscribers. Shout out to the Schwable Room channel on YouTube. Shout out to the @Jay.Drewz3692, which carries the content of Beyond the Veil, and Unusual Podcast, and Deeper Dives, Dialogues Unlimited. Get well soon, Handsome Mandela. Goldtron, we need you back at the comm center. Calling all Cardinal. But yeah, listen, man, look. It's time to just go with what we know. Every answer is not a violent one, but it does require volition, which is tied to action. The kingdom has suffered, and you know who takes it by force. So
indeed,
talk is cheap. If you froggish, leave. You know what I'm saying? We got everyday people. Look, man, my man right here. Look. Anthony Holland, music professor, teamed up with scientists. I'm just saying there's going to be music coming from certain ones of us. It ain't going to be all of us, but certain ones of us. We got music, and there's going to be music coming through us, even if we're not the performer. We'll be the producer. We'll be the financier, whatever it takes. We already know that frequency can change the molecular structure, reprogram the DNA and the RNA. So that's the message of the ancestors could be realigned with their original intentions. The prayers that they prayed will make much available. The Bible says the prayers of the righteous availeth much. They make much available to their future progeny. Stop worrying, y'all. It's already been asked for. You just got to walk into it. But you got to become aware of it so you know what you're walking into and you handle it with care.
And source vibronic it out. Don't be afraid to be a unique energy signature all your own.
Yes.
Those vibrational fields can be matched and amplified if you continue in that resonance. Energy transference comes in your ability to keep the resonance, to stay focused on, to keep the resonance.
And since it's Sunday before we go, I'm going to just remind y'all the prayer of benediction. Your pastor always said what? For all of you who are under the sound of my voice, and even those who couldn't make it there, let the sound of my voice resonate to them.
Yeah.
May the Lord watch, right? He would say that, right? Between
Yeah.
Right? So we already know that this is more.
And then they will amplify you up at the end. Grab each other, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Energy going round and round through the negative positive charges in the hands, amplifying everybody's energy. So you go out feeling good, charged up, amplified.
People all over the world join hands, start a love train. I'm just saying, man. It's the knowledge has been dropped. As simple as it might be, you can turn anything into a personal mantra, and you can change. You could change your destiny. You have the blank slate, the whiteboard. You have the chalk, the marker, the eraser. You can call those things that are not as though they were, even from the foundations of the world.
Think it, emote it, feel it, eat on it, drink on it. Sacred energy exchange on it. Let where your feet go and your hands exchange be also
and be on it. And be grateful.
Indeed.
Yes, if you're grateful, I'm guarantee you amplify that frequency by 100 to 1,000. You become the field where you are. And if you find another that can touch and agree in thought, I mean, it's like a radio station up in that piece. So happy broadcasting. Happy podcasting. Thanks for joining us once again on the Beyond the Veil and Unusual podcast. We appreciate your support. Like, share, subscribe, donate, join the locals at Deeper Dives. What is it? Rumble.com, Deeper Dives Dialogue, UNL. Yeah. /locals. You can actually subscribe. You can join our community. You can comment. You can make suggestions. You can give criticism. You know what I'm saying? We welcome it all. We're just growing. We're trying to continue to grow so that we can bring more positive, uplifting, enlightening, healing, sometimes angering, upsetting, but nonetheless for the purpose of your healing and liberation, programming / content for you and to you. We would love for it to be by you. You tell us more what you would like to hear about what you would like to hear about less, what you'd like us to go back over, what you'd like us to skip forward to. We take it all into consideration and advisement because we value you as our audience. Anything you want to say, Black Sun Shaman?
Make your record, man. To use all of them different vibrations to put you together some dope music for life. That's what I would put the Black Sun Shaman on the end. Yeah, for sure.
Indeed. It's been a pleasure as always, my brother. Until next week, we'll see you. We'll see you then.
All right.
Peace.